welcome back. Today we are joined by Colin. We met at UW and he's been making some pretty big moves. How you doing, Colin?
I'm doing great, Manny. Thanks for having me.
It's all good. So if you just run us down through your progression through coaching, where you're at just now, and sort of the steps that you've taken to get there.
Yeah, so right now, I'm coaching college football in the state of Texas at Stephen F. Austin University. Um, and it's been a crazy, crazy time since I got here. I moved out here in July, and it's been a lot of fun. But kind of how I got into coaching, it was my dad was a high school football coach, coached softball, wrestling, did it all. And so I kind of just grew up on the sidelines. Always looked up to my dad and wanted to be just like him. And it got me into coaching. And so I played sports for a really long time, all the way up until my freshman year of college. I played baseball at a junior college I went to. After I decided to stop playing baseball, I went to Clemson University, and I wanted to get into coaching when I got there. Met a ton of coaches on the football staff, but then COVID hit, and they weren't really able to get me to join as a student assistant there. Um, I ended up graduating in 2022 and then moved to Seattle where I met you, and was working on the strength and conditioning staff as an intern with the UW football team, which was awesome. I had planned to work there for a year with the football team. Uh, and after a great summer, I ended up getting in contact with the baseball team at University of Washington, where they asked me to join as a student assistant. So I ended up joining that staff, worked with the baseball team for the whole season, fall, winter, spring, and into the summer, where we went to the NCAA tournament, which is pretty awesome. Played against played at Oklahoma State, and then we ended up losing to one of the teams that went all the way to the College World Series and was in the semifinals, which was pretty crazy. I ended up leaving the tournament early to go to Texas to get going out here, and now I'm coaching football again. I wanted to get back in the football world because that's where my passion was when I got started, and I always wanted to get be able to have the opportunity to coach college football and to be able to coach Division 1 college football right now has been a crazy opportunity, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah. How was the sort of progression through the championships with the baseball team?
So we started off really hot and we're playing some really good baseball, and then we, as soon as we got into conference play, we kind of kept going. We beat the number 7 team in the country at the time, which is UCLA. We went down to
Mm.
Los Angeles and took 2 or 3 from them, which was really cool. But then we kind of went on a slide for about a month there and weren't winning many ball games. So going to the tournament was kind of in question for us. And then we ended up winning, I think it was 11 in a row or something like that, where we swept Oregon, who was ranked. We swept USC, who was playing really good baseball at the time, and we solidified ourselves in the number 4 slot in our conference, and then ended up making the conference semifinals at the conference tournament. Lost there, which sucked, but we ended up making the NCAA tournament still, which was really cool. And how they do it is like they slot it out to the top 16 teams, get to
Right.
host a tournament around the country, and so it's 64 teams are in it. But at the 16 host slots, there's 4 schools that go, and basically they play a little 4-team tournament, and then it goes to the 16 teams. They play the six, or then it's 8 hosts, and then they'll play those games. Then 8 teams advance to the College World Series. So we ended up going to the Oklahoma State Regional, which was University of Washington, Oklahoma State, Oral Roberts, and then Dallas Baptist. So we won our first game against Dallas Baptist, um, and then we played Oral Roberts. It was like a double elimination tournament, and then we ended up losing to Oral Roberts, and then we lost our next game. That eliminated us from the tournament, but it was a really cool experience. I got to go to a ton of different states throughout the baseball season. Went to Arizona, Oregon, California, Oklahoma, So it was really cool, and it was an awesome experience, and I'm really glad I took the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, so how was it like sort of going from that to then starting to coach football again?
It was pretty crazy because um, it kind of felt like I was a high school athlete again, going from playing football during the fall to then playing baseball during the spring to then going back to football as soon as the summer hit. And it kind of felt like I was back in those days because I basically went from one season ending to the next season,
Mm,
uh, pretty much getting going. I mean, I went through summer workouts, and now we're playing ball again. So um, it's been pretty hectic. I mean, I ended up getting a couple weeks to kind of have a vacation a little bit. I came to Texas, went through some camps, and then went back home and was able to relax for a little bit. And
mm.
then I officially moved out here and got going. And since I started, I haven't really stopped. So
Yeah,
it's been
you were
pretty
telling
much,
me about your work week just before the
yeah,
podcast
no,
started, and that's
the, yeah, the work week of a college coach is it's pretty hectic, but if you love it, um,
yeah.
like then it's not that big of a deal. So
Do you want to take us through it just so people listening can get sort of sense for what and how much goes into it?
yeah, 100%, I can do that. So for me, my weekly schedule, if you look at a Monday, um, is kind of preparation. We don't practice. It's just a lot of meetings with the players and with coaches. For me, it's a big scouting report day. So we go over certain aspects of the team that we're about to play, and we go through kind of what our game plan is going to look like in certain scenarios against that team, and then we're watching a lot of that film and going through it. And then Tuesdays is we call it Bloody Tuesdays because they're in full pads and we're full hitting, tackling, doing everything that we can do. Um, and then after practice is over, we're meeting and watching film all day, and then it's kind of the same deal on Wednesday. Um, Today, which is Thursday when we're recording this, it's a big special teams day, which I help out a lot with special teams. And so we go through our punt return, kickoff, kick return, and we just go through kind of certain scenarios with the players. So whatever gets thrown at them on game day, they can look at it and feel it out in person in practice and
Mm,
feel good about it. And then Friday we just do a walkthrough and meet one last time with all the players, going through kind of our game plan with them and certain things like that. And then on certain occasions, like last Friday, we went out and watched a high school game, which was really cool because we go recruit on those Friday nights, and then Saturday's game day. Um, and then I'm there for a while. We meet, do walkthroughs in the mornings, and then sometimes like this weekend we'll have recruits coming in, so we'll be taking them through a certain deal with that, and then we play our game, and then I'm up in the booth for every game day. I'm our
nice.
defensive scribe, and so I'm on the headset, and basically everything that gets said in the headset, I'm writing down, like what our play call is, and like what play they ran and stuff like that. So I don't get to watch a ton of it. I'm writing most of the game, but it's a really cool experience. And then once game's over, if we're away, got to travel home. If we're home, get to relax a little bit, hang out with family and friends if they're around. And then Sunday, you're getting right back to it, breaking down the next team that you're going to play the next week. And no players are in, not a lot of meetings on Sunday. It's basically just strictly watching film and breaking down your responsibilities.
Yeah. Can you sort of explain what watching tape is and how like the process that you go through is?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to do it. So for me, I'm on the defensive side of the ball, so we only watch the other team's offense and kind of what they do. So the biggest thing is like deciphering if the play was a run or a pass or a trick play, and then throughout that, there's different kind of things that we look at. Like for me, I work with the defensive line, so I watch how their offensive line drops back during a pass and how
Mm,
they're going to protect certain rushes. And a big thing for me is I watch if like how their center reacts to different pass rushes, how their guards react to different pass rushes, and how their tackles react. And based off of my breakdowns, I tell our head defensive line coach, he uses that for his scouting report and stuff like that. And then we talk about it as a staff, give it to the players and things like that. Another big thing that I do is I track all the players on the field and what numbers they are and where they're lined up,
Mm-hmm.
to try to give us a certain advantage, to be able to um, see, well, if this guy's lined up in a certain position, he does this every single time he's there. And so it's like we know, okay, number one is in the slot. That means he's doing this. And so it's basically watching film is just trying to find any sort of advantage that you possibly can, any sort of tendencies that you can, and you know, trying to make it fit to your defense. And when you see them do something, you know how to react with it. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, we have a giant staff. There's probably 10 or 12 of us that are only focusing on defense, and
Oh,
seeing and watching different aspects of it, and then we all come together and combine it together for a scouting report. We like our scouting reports are about 100 something pages because there's so much that goes into it,
mm,
and we're all breaking down different aspects, and then we type it up in our scouting report, and it comes out to a lot of work. So, but it's worth it because when you go into those games and those things, we're able to make calls and be successful, and that's what's happened for us the last 2 weeks. Is we played some pretty dang good football and won the game. So, um,
yeah,
you
I've
know,
I've been
I,
keeping up with that, and it's awesome
yeah,
to see every week you've got that full of the winning, and I'm just like, fuck yeah.
yeah. No, it
So
feels good. I was just going to say it feels great after putting in all that work to see it come to fruition, and see the guys play well, and just know that I like know that you are being a part of it.
mm,
Like it did something, and your hard work paid off. So it's pretty cool.
so what's that feeling like after the game where you have won and everything that sort of you've put in comes together and it works?
Uh, well, my first win here was pretty special for me since both my parents, who I hadn't seen in 2-3 months, actually came all the way to Texas to go to our first home game. So that meant a lot to me to have them there and to be able to celebrate that with them was, it was pretty cool. And um, the two positions that I work with played really well that game, and so it just makes you really happy. Like I've been a fan, and I like you cheer as a fan, but like this means so much more, and it feels so awesome that you had an impact on what took place.
Yeah.
And then to have my parents there, who have been my biggest supporters, be there to celebrate that with me was really cool. And then our last game that we just played was a big rivalry game, and so winning that and winning it 4-7 was made it even made it even better. So it was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we were talking before that you put up the same score as Judah did, and that,
Yeah,
like I saw both, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
yeah. No, it was a good day for me on that Saturday because I won big, the dogs won big, and my other school, Clemson, won big. So I couldn't complain.
I saw the Clemson flag up before, and I was like, yeah, that's
Yep,
Colin.
yep,
Can you
yep.
sort of take us through going through the game plan with the athletes and how that all plays out?
Yeah. So when you get to the college level, you got to expect a lot out of your athletes, and what what they're able to do, and it's asking a lot, especially at the college level, because they're taking classes and they're playing sports along with you know having to take care of their body and do things like that. But definitely, it's a lot of meetings. It's a lot of meetings.
Mm,
So um, a lot of our stuff is we watch our practice so we can coach them up on how they can get better in doing our scheme, um, the our upcoming opponents' games, so we can see what they do, tell our players about that. And one thing that we do is like we'll call one of our defensive plays while we're watching the film, and we'll make our guys communicate, "Hey, I'm doing this when they do that," This is my job. This is my responsibility. So just kind of walking through this, I think watching football, playing football, you have to be a visual learner, but then you also
Mm.
have to be able to learn while you're doing it in person. So we try to show everything on screen, talk them through it, and then we can go down to the film or go down to the field and bring the film down to the field and make it happen like that.
How big of an impact has that had, sort of making, like, allowing your players practice while, like, on game time?
Well, it's really it's awesome because um, being able to watch a practice, which is something I never really thought of before I got to this level, it makes a ton of sense because you can see what mistakes you made, and then next time you're out on the field, it's like, okay, I did this wrong last time, and now that I'm seeing it, I know where to go. And you can see
Mm.
your best players are able to just adapt really quickly, and they're quick learners. And some guys, aren't the best at learning it, so that's why you get all those repetitions, and you do it as much as you possibly can, um, to make sure that when they get in that scenario, they're going to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, how big of the program is it? So something that we were talking offline before was that I'm still trying to wrap my head around, like, the different levels in Division One.
Hmm.
Obviously, I've seen UW, which has, like, the facility it does.
Hmm.
What's it like at sort of that level?
Yeah, so like we were talking about earlier, both schools are Division 1, um, but like the main difference is just the funding and how big the school actually is. And that's kind of what makes the big difference. So, University of Washington has 46,000 students. All right, and my school that I'm at, SFA, has 12,000, and so
Um,
that's a big difference for sure. Because the bigger school, the more funding you're going to get. So that makes a big difference. But in the scheme of things, within Division 1 football, there's FBS, which is what University of Washington's in, and then there's FCS, which is what Stephen F. Austin is in, and that's where I'm coaching. And so the big difference with that is FBS is called the football. It's the football bowl,
mm,
and so like you play bowl games and stuff like that. Versus FCS football championship, and it's just a giant tournament basically when it comes down to the end of the season. Um, and so that's like what the B and the C stands for right there. And so the FBS is a lot of bigger schools, a lot more money to go around. And it's more of a level playing field. Like that's why there's two different areas, is because it's a level playing field. And then FCS is like a lot of lower funded, but still big enough schools and big enough
mhm.
programs, to be within the Division 1 area. And so um, the school size and the definitely where the difference comes in. Um, but going from pretty much one of the best of the best, down to a FCS school definitely humbles you a little bit, but it makes you appreciate what you have, and it's a lot harder to recruit. It's a lot harder to all these nice things, but making it work is what makes you feel even better about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool.
So, what sort of what's the program like? So, what kind of staff members do you have apart from obviously coaches?
Um, yeah. So I mean, most of it is so we have like full time coaches. And then we have like the assistants to the full-time coaches, which is what my role is. And so some of the guys that I work with are students. Some of them are grad students. Some of them are in their undergrad still, just wanting to be coaches as well. Uh, and so some of us are students, some of us aren't. Um, and we're just in there. We're put with a position coach, and basically we do everything that they need us to do. And then the other people around, like we have our strength and conditioning staff. But for you saw a giant strength and conditioning staff. There
Mm,
was what 6 or 7 of them plus the interns, and now our staff is one guy, and then he has I think 3 or 4 assistants, but it's for all the sports. here at SFA. It's not just for one
Oh,
team,
right. Yeah.
and I'm not sure if they really have any interns or how that goes, because I'm not really involved with any of the strength and conditioning at all here. But there's just a major difference. I mean, we don't have as many people on staff. Um, I think we're asked to do probably more stuff than at a bigger school where they can just have more people on staff to um, to go around. But you know, that's why we got some long days. But it's all just because we love it and we're
Yeah.
working hard and like we're we're making it pay off. I mean, I could work shorter days if I wanted to, but you know, you work those long days because you want to do your best for the players and find certain things to, take an advantage and go win a football game on a Saturday, and so that's why you do it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why I've loved watching your journey so much is because like it's a Division 1 school still, and
Hmm.
that's still an amazing opportunity for whatever you're going to do next as well.
Oh,
Like
100%.
I know like we've obviously spent a lot of time at UW together, and I know how much hunger you have to climb up that pole and just get to the big schools and the big jobs
Hmm.
that you're finally like you've already made it in my eyes. Like Division 1 schools a big thing.
Yeah. Well,
What was
yeah.
that?
I was just
Sorry,
gonna say
no.
you gotta start somewhere, and you know, sometimes you don't go to the spot you want to go, like that's the end goal right away, but you got to start somewhere and you got to learn somewhere. I mean, I was telling one of the coaches on our staff today that I came in here and I thought I knew a good amount of football, but I came in here and I've learned 4,000% more than the stuff I already know, and it's only scratching the surface. And there's so much more to learn, and I'm excited to keep learning. And this has been a great spot to do that. And the more and more you learn, the better you do, the more and more you'll work up. So
100%.
it's pretty neat. Yeah.
So what's one of the biggest things that you've learned while um, across there?
Besides, like, I've learned a ton of football stuff, like schematically, and um, it's really cool picking some of the coaches' brains on like what they're thinking, like you know, uh, in certain situations. Like, let's say it's 4th and 1, and they have to get the first down to try to come back and tie, or we make the stop on defense and we win the game. And like, what is our defense coordinator thinking? And because like I think I know what I would do, but listening to him analyze certain situations and taking in so many different things into account, like it makes me realize, whoa, there's a lot more that goes into it. Like a lot of people think it's super easy to go out there and, there's a lot of couch coaches out there in the world that, they watch something and be like, oh, I know I could do better than they're doing, but they have zero clue what it takes, what goes into everything. And so it's really cool being able to I've learned a lot just from picking guys' brains and just sitting there and listening, being a sponge. I know at UW we always Coach Mack always said, um, you got to be able to drink through a fire hose, and it really is something that you have to, like, it's a skill that you have to have because you come here and things are moving so fast, and you're doing a lot of different things, learning a lot of new things, and you got to be able to take it all in. And so I think there's just so much that I've learned football wise. But then, like, as a coach wise, I've learned a lot about myself. I think I grew a lot in my journey at UW, being
Mm,
able to have one-on-one time and run a group of guys. Now I'm running an even bigger group of guys, and I'm running meetings with um, a ton of guys in there, and I've even they had all the coaches give a talk in front of the whole team during fall camp. I was 100 guys that were listening to me, and I don't know if I've ever spoken in front of 100 people by myself, And so I think that was a really cool experience. I've grown a lot as a man and as a coach, and the coach that I work with, he played 10 years in the NFL. He's won a couple Super Bowls, and
um,
it's been really awesome learning from him because he's got a lot of life lessons. He's got a lot of coaching lessons, and he's got a ton of football lessons because he's been through it. and so I've learned so much in many aspects of my life, and I've learned a lot about myself, which I think at the end of the day is one of the most important things.
100%, and that's something that obviously we were drilled into at UW was that you're not just there to coach. You're there
Hmm.
to be a person for the athletes, but you're also
Hmm.
there for yourself, for like the
Yeah,
lessons that are going to carry through to your coaching career and your future career as well.
yeah.
How much of an impact do you think UW's had on your progression so far?
I think it's had a lot. I think first and foremost, it was a place that gave me a shot to get started, and obviously my path is very it's one of a kind because there's probably not a lot of people who um, have done what I've done, and just gone strength and conditioning football side to then baseball to then back to football, um, and kind of just the weird roles that I've had along the way. But I wouldn't change a single thing. But I think both of my stops UW with the football and the baseball team has been huge in helping me grow because I got one-on-one time with athletes. I got to watch two amazing coaching staffs do what they do. The football staff, while we were there, that was their first year there. The baseball staff that I worked with, that was their first year there, and they both were
Um,
ultra successful. UW's football team was, I think, they were 5-6, or some, or yeah, or 4-8, or whatever it was before we got there, and they went 11-2 the year that we were working there. And then my baseball team at UW, they hadn't gone to the tournament since 2017 or 2018, and then
um,
um, and then we went in 2023. So I got to see two coaching staffs basically flip programs around, build tremendous cultures, and just see how they did it. So that was really cool for me because um, I'd take little notes on my phone after a meeting, just like they said something that was really cool. Um, so aside from me personally getting hands-on experience with the sports, with the stuff that I love, I also got to watch some pretty awesome people be really good at their job and see how they broke down stuff. Even breaking down, like I did scouting reports for the baseball team, and
mm,
doing that stuff. Obviously, it's completely different, but doing that stuff, helps me, um, help me a lot with the football scouting reports that I'm doing here, just because, you know, um, I get to see it through and see the work get done, see my work get um, put into it in a certain way, uh, and yeah, it's been really cool. I think that year at UW was probably one of the best years of my life, not only like with work, but with school and friends and everything. Like I got so many more experiences than I could ask for, and I loved it, and so I'm very appreciative of that time that I had there.
yeah, something that you've just touched on as well is that you were an SSC coach and then you went to baseball and then back to football. What was that transition like from SSC coach to coach at UW?
It was pretty interesting because um, I think you knew this. Like I was very intrigued by strength and conditioning, but I didn't know if that was necessarily the path I wanted to take. Um, but it was the door that opened for me at UW, so I took it, and I think I learned a lot while I was doing that. Um, but I realized that it wasn't necessarily the path that I wanted to go, um, and so I wanted to be more hands-on with the actual sport itself. And so I thought it was a really good experience for me to get to do that, um, with the baseball team, um, coaching football. I think I grew a lot, but the transition, it was really easy. It was really smooth because um, I was doing the same thing. It was just I was coaching different things. I was still being me, interacting, building relationships, and doing the coaching side of things. I was just uh, I was just coaching the sport instead of in the weight room.
Yeah, obviously, I know that you were not only an SSC coach intern, but you were also doing your master's at the time. What was it like managing
Mhm.
both at the same time?
It was pretty hectic. I mean, at the time, I thought those days were long, and then I started actually coaching college football, and I realized those days weren't terrible. Um, but I mean, we would have those early mornings where we're getting there at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and we'd be getting after it for a couple hours there. And I know you guys would spend a little more time there doing stuff, but I'd have to leave to go to class. I'd be in class from 9 o'clock, 8 8 a.m., 9 a.m. till, I mean, some days were 4 p.m., some days were 5 p.m. And so I was grinding, and it was a fun experience. They were long days and long weeks, um, but I was learning a lot, and I was having some pretty dang cool experiences. Um, I was doing things like running up to the top of the Space Needle with the team, and then getting back on the bus and going back to campus. And I was going right to class, and I was in class
I
for
remember
7
you
hours after.
sprinting.
Yeah,
I
and
remember
so
you sprinting after that.
yeah, so, like, there were some crazy days, but looking back at it, like, it was a lot of fun, and I was having a blast, and not only was I building relationships with you guys and the players on the team and the coaching staff and all the other interns, but I was able to go build some pretty awesome relationships, in class, and I can call some of those people some of my best friends, and seeing them doing awesome things. Like our whole master's program, 75% of us got full-time jobs. Um,
Uh,
like within like the day we graduated, all of it, or 75% of us had jobs. And there's people all over the country, people in Kansas, Idaho, some in Washington, California, North Carolina, Florida. I'm in Texas. We got people all over the place doing big things at big colleges, uh, professional places. I mean, there was two people that were in my master's program that ended up doing the same internship that we did with UW on the football team, just that
right.
next year. And so it's pretty funny, like seeing that connect and going in there too. And um, so yeah, it was an awesome experience, and looking back at it, it was a blast. And that the
Yeah.
summer in Seattle, I think, was like the nicest weather-wise summer I think I've ever had. Um, Especially coming out here to Texas, where it was 108 every single day for probably 2 months.
Uh, that's what I find really cool about like the internship we did is that like just that small pool of me, you, Chu, Nate, Ryan, Kev, Caroline was that like obviously I'm in Scotland, you're now in Texas, Chu's in New York,
Hmm.
Nate and Ryan are in Washington, Kev's back in Washington too. But like just like this little small pool has built these connections from like kind of across the pond and then spread out across America. And then from there, I've further connected with people from like their side of the world. And for me,
Hmm.
it's like this connection building that happens through just like spending a couple weeks of hell
Yeah,
together.
I know. No, it is pretty neat, like, talking about it and talking about my experience there. I always hit on the fact that there were a person from Scotland and a person from England that were there, and Coach Mack always tries to bring in people from all over the world to get this experience, and it's, like, pretty crazy to think about. Like, I got a good network around the country, but now I have a network across the world now, so it's pretty cool to think about that.
Yeah, no, it is awesome. And like one of the things that I always remember because you were an intern and studying at the same time is sometimes like obviously we'd speak about things after you'd went to class and then the next morning you'd be kind of like because we were in racks next to each other you'd kind of look at me like well I missed and
Yeah,
then I'd have to fill you in and then
yeah,
that also challenged me because like now I'm having to remember things and relay it
uh-huh,
back to a way that makes sense so for me it
yeah,
was pretty like I mean, like obviously it sucked that you weren't there all the time,
mhm,
but it was like kind of learning for me as well because like I got to then relay that on to you and sort of make sure that we were all running the same program.
yeah. And one of the things I very was very appreciative of is, like, obviously, it wasn't the most ideal scenario for Coach Mack and AJ and all them for having me be there, like, for half the day. Um, at least during the summer portion of it. During the fall, I was there all the time that they needed me. But I'm very appreciative of them for, letting me do what I had to
Mm.
do to be able to get my master's, but then also um, work as hard as I could for them and get my stuff done with those guys. So um, they catered to what I needed, and it was awesome. And I'm very very thankful for that opportunity for sure.
No, and I think I can speak for them when they say like they, I think they did that because they saw how hard you were working. Because like if they saw that you were slacking at any point, like I've no doubt that they would just send you home. But
Yeah.
like you showed up every single time, and you were there. Like you'd still do all the tasks that we had to do, but you would do them alongside school as well,
Mhm.
which I think you definitely deserve a bell for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so it was really cool getting to do both, and they knew I was up for the challenge, and doing both paid off in so many different ways into me being who I am today. So I'm glad that I was able to do them both at the same time, and it challenged me to be able to balance things, and be able to bring energy to the weight room at 5 o'clock in the morning and bring energy to class when I was there 3 hours later, and not having much time in between to catch up on anything. Just go 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 all the time, and um, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and like we obviously did quite a bit of stuff afterwards as well, just like on our downtimes.
Hmm.
Is that something you miss having downtime?
Yeah, having downtime is definitely something I miss. The first month that I was here, we were still working. We were working 5 days a week. Then I'd get the weekends, and we'd go do some stuff. We played golf. We did a coach's retreat. We had some really good time, and took advantage of the time that we got. Um, but as soon as fall camp hit, I haven't had a day off since then, and I've been grinding my butt off. And I'm excited. Like every Saturday, it makes it worth it.
Hmm.
Going through it and making it happen, especially getting a W. It makes it well worth it. But I do definitely have my bye weekend circled because that's when I'll get some time off, and I'm really excited because I'll get to see my sister during that bye weekend and everything. Um, so it'll be good. But
Yeah,
um, we got a couple more weeks till that hits, so we're focused on the game ahead this week, and then when that day comes, I'll cherish the time off that I get. That's for sure.
nice. What's your predictions on this weekend's game?
The plan's to win, obviously, and I think this team that we're playing is really funky. They do some crazy shifting around with formationally on offense, and they do the same thing on special teams. So the two areas that I'm working and coaching up, they do some pretty crazy stuff. Um, but it's gonna be an exciting game. We both joined a new conference. Their
Mm,
conference and our team's conference combined to make a bigger conference, and so this is our first time ever playing these guys, and at least in a really long time, it's our first time playing them. And they made the playoffs last year, I'm pretty sure, and we didn't. So it'll be a tough test, but I think we're up for it. And preseason rankings, they're ranked third, and we're ranked fourth. And so
mm,
we're going to go try to prove all the haters wrong and go get a W. And we're on our home turf, and we think we got a good shot at them. So I'm excited for it, and it'll be a good game. But hopefully the Lumberjacks end up on the winning side. That's for sure.
nice. I've got you kind of touched on before, but I've got a question on sort of how the schedule works between
Hmm.
sort of on season, off season,
Yeah,
spring camp, fall camps. How does that work in relation to your job and what you do?
yeah. So in season is strictly football. I mean, you're recruiting as well, but you have to be able to ration out your days as to this is going strictly to what we're doing this week, and the other part is recruiting. And some coaches will say you're never not recruiting. And with having Twitter and having being able to talk to people on the phone and doing certain things like that, it's really easy to do that. But during the season, it's pretty much a lot of just football stuff. And then, you know, God willing, we'll be in the playoffs, and we'll go into December and maybe even January, playing some playoff football. And then, but as soon as that season ends, it's strictly recruiting. Um, you're doing certain things here and there with your players, but you're trying to get the next class of guys, build the best class you possibly can, building that future for your team. So it's finding the diamonds in the rough, or trying to get the guys that you've been recruiting for a while to commit and sign with your school. So that's the big chunk of time after the season during the off season, and then spring football comes along. Um, that's in about like late February, March, April. Um, you're doing spring football stuff, so that's when you're allowed to practice. I think you get 15 practices during the spring football months, and so you span it out 3 days a week that you're practicing, and so you're getting back into it. That's where you're kind of re teaching your whole offense or your whole defense to all your players and taking them through certain drills to um, kind of get technique better and everything like that. And then summer hits for coaches. It gets back into and a lot of schools host camps. Like we hosted camps, but we hosted it around the state of Texas. So we were traveling all around like I I I hit all the major cities in Texas in a week just because we were going all over the place hosting camps and doing recruiting stuff. And you get a couple weeks off of vacation, um, and then we came back at the beginning of July and kind of were prepping, doing what we like OTA, short practices, small practices, no pads, nothing, just kind of quick training um, stuff. And then once August hit, it was fall camp, and it was basically strictly football again. You're there all day, um, practicing, watching film with the players, meeting about it, eating dinner with the player, like eating meals with all the players, doing everything you can to try to build culture, build rapport with the players, and then also be getting good at football. And then once that is over, you have a couple weeks of kind of prep for in season, and then you get going from that point
Nice.
on.
So what's the player recruitment
hmm
like? Like what's that process?
So I'm still learning a lot about it, um, but a lot of it is um, building relationships with high school and seeing like trusting their what they're telling you about their athletes, and the cool thing about it is everybody has film, and so they all have highlight tapes out there, so you're able to watch their highlights and analyze if you think they could fit at your school, and then from there, if you think they could be a fit, you talk to them through Twitter, talk to them on the phone. Yeah, just talking to them as much as you can, building relationships that way through Twitter and talking on the phone, and even sometimes you can get them to come to campus and do visits and stuff like that. So um, just capitalizing on building those relationships and um, trying to do those certain things to bring them to your school and make them a football player on your team, and eventually getting them on campus with you so you can coach them up and try to make them the best you possibly can.
Yeah. So what's been like the most memorable moment for you during your time there?
Oh wow. Um, there's been a lot of really awesome things. That's a big question. I think just being able to coach my first game um, and be a part of that was probably something that I'll remember forever. Aside from the relationships and everything like that, I think coaching these games are going to be the things I remember
Mm,
forever. Um, and I think that that's probably going to be the most memorable thing and the coolest thing, just because I can say I coach Division 1 football, which is some that's pretty dang cool. And with my background, like not a lot of people with a similar background will be able to say that they're able to do that as their first job um,
mm,
out of college. And so very lucky and glad to be here, grateful to be here. But I'd say having that opportunity to coach these games has been great, and we've won 2 of the 3 we played, and we got 8 more left, so I'm excited for all those, and hopefully to get a couple extra in the playoffs.
Yeah. So what's the leaders in the pack that you have? Like what makes them the leaders in sort of your team and special teams?
Uh, like, are you talking like player wise, like who?
Yeah, player
Yeah.
wise.
So a lot of the guys are guys who have been here for a while and been with this coaching staff here for a while, and we have some leaders that have been here for 6 years because of the COVID year. They're able to get an extra year
Mm,
of college football, and we have some leaders that have been here for 6 months, whether they transferred in or freshmen or anything like that. And so I think what's really cool about this team is it's a player run team. You know, like the coaches are there to keep the train on the tracks, but we're not going to make it go. Um, and it's up to the players. So we have some really great leaders that have been here for a while and have seen other people lead and have learned from it. And
mm,
some guys just have the knack to be a leader, man. And um, I'd say this team is run by some pretty great leaders and guys who hold people accountable for sure. And you know, we have a lot of young guys come in and need to learn and realize that this isn't high school anymore, and they can't BS their way around anymore. You know, they got guys who are going to hold them accountable, and if they want to be great, you know, they whip it in shape, and they end up becoming a leader that holds other people accountable as well. So um, I'd say that's been something really cool about being here because there's some coaches that they're going to dictate everything that goes on, and there's coaches that don't. And I'm a firm believer in the coaches that let the players run it, and as long as they're capable of keeping it on track, they're going to be extremely successful. And I think that's what our program is out here.
yeah. So what's the driving factors behind that culture that you have built there?
I think the big thing here is it's a family environment, and I think that that's my biggest thing. Whenever I have a program to myself one day, whether it's a high school or college, you know, what I want my culture to be is a family environment, man.
Mm,
And we have our coaches' kids running around the office every day, and we've built relationships with all them, and all the players have built relationships with all them. But when they're out there on the field, they look to the guy to the right and left of them, and they're like, "These are my brothers," and they want to fight for them, and um, they're willing to argue and fight about things because it's going to make them better. You know,
mm,
they're willing to go at it with each other just because you know when it gets settled, they're going to be better for it, and you know they can talk things through, and you know some things you know are arguments, and some things are just healthy conversations about what they think. Like, hey, I think you might be doing this wrong, but if we can, like, let's talk about it and let's see where we can go and have a conversation about it, and then we grow from it, you know. And I think that's something that happens a lot here, and you know, players are willing to speak up, even if I get something wrong during a meeting,
mm.
like a player's going to call me out and they're going to question me, and I'll be like, hey, that's on me. You know, that I appreciate you for calling that out, and you know, we work forward and we work through it, and you keep growing. Having a growth mindset um, is definitely something big, and having a sport and cast around you full of brothers definitely makes things makes things easy and makes things happen for sure.
Yeah. I think we've spoke about this before in this podcast, but something that I really really learned the value of it was in a UW when you make a mistake, you own up to it. Like
Hmm.
Coach Mark did all the time. Like there was scheduling interferences that he messed up on, and he got all the guys together, and he was like, "Guys, this is on me." Like I've seen the guy do up downs for making a mistake too. Is
Yeah.
that something that you sort of really stick to when you're coaching the guys?
Oh, 100%. I think you got to be able to hold yourself accountable, and you know it helps you grow as a person and as a coach as well. I think you realize you did that wrong, and you know you're like, dang, I don't want to make that mistake twice. You make it better. You know, you go through the process, and you're like, all right, I'm good. You know, I fixed that. Let's keep rolling. And And you make another mistake, you're like, all right, I'm not going to make this mistake again. You just keep going through it. I mean, you're going to make mistakes, especially doing all the stuff that Coach Mack was doing at UW. All of us are going to make mistakes, and as long as you're learning from them and growing from it, um, like that's how you learn. That's how you get better.
Yeah,
And if you're not making mistakes, you're doing something wrong.
100%.
So,
You're playing it safe.
hmm
What's one of the biggest mistakes that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
ooh, that
Not to put you on the spot.
that's a good question. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to pinpoint like a specific thing. But there's just certain things that's like you do something wrong and you don't even know you do it wrong. You're doing something for the first time, which is a lot of the things that I'm doing. I'm doing it for the first time. So, um, like there's been aspects of like the scouting report week one that I did incorrectly, and they told me, and you fix it and you do it right the next time, and you're better for it. And in those aspects of the scouting report, like I see what they're looking for, and they're like, okay, that makes sense. Like I understand why, like this data, like why we didn't need certain data that I put in there, and certain things like that. But it goes for a lot of things. But it's part of the drink through the water or the fire hose thing. If and just learning a lot, and you're gonna make mistakes. None of them have been too big. But it's a part of learning things, doing things for the first time. You do it wrong, they tell you, and then boom, I'm not going to do it wrong again. So going through that process and capitalizing on the situation.
Yeah, it's like the trial by fire. You kind of have to
Yeah, 100%.
make the mistakes to know where they are and what not to do from then on.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So I've got a question because I hear about these things, and you obviously know how big it is to me, but what's the food scene like in Texas?
The food scene. So I haven't gotten out a ton since I'm working all the time. But the big thing is Texas barbecue for sure.
Mm,
And the Texas barbecue out here is legit. I don't know. I doubt you probably had much barbecue while you're in Seattle because it's definitely not a place for good barbecue at all. Um, I don't even know if I had barbecue once while I was there for a full year, um, but coming to Texas, I've had it a lot, and I even had it for lunch today.
oof.
Went to my favorite barbecue spot with a couple of the coaches, and it is just so dang good. The barbecue is legit, man, and there's a lot of good places out here, and um, so yeah, I'd say that's probably the best for sure.
Yeah, I remember the tacos and soft tacos that we had in
Hmm.
Seattle, and that
Yeah,
was that was my thing.
yeah,
Um, but like I definitely want to try some barbecue. I
yeah,
want to try the wings. Wings across there seem fucking legit.
yeah, yeah. Well, even in South Carolina, like Carolina has its own kind of realm of barbecue, and I thought that was really good. And then I got out here, and I was like, this is its own thing, and it's really good too. So, um, but yeah, barbecue is definitely one of the specialties out here in Texas.
Yeah. What's the differences like that you found between all the schools and sort of areas that you've been in
Um,
terms of food and just culture?
oh wow, culture wise, I think the biggest difference between South Carolina and Texas, and then like as a group, and then different than Seattle, is just that I was living in a big city, um, and both of the like this is a tiny college town. Clemson was a tiny college town, um, so that was a lot different. Um, in Seattle, I used public transportation to get everywhere. I didn't have a car, and I didn't need a car. The train or my feet took me everywhere I needed to go. And if I needed a ride somewhere, I had people that could give me a ride or pick me up, or to get to my best friend's house, like he'd just pick me up, um, and that would be like the easiest way to do it. But like in Clemson, I had a car. I needed a car to get everywhere. And out here in Texas, I don't have a car. Hoping to have a car here probably after the season. But I live 2 minutes from school, and I
Mm,
live with one of the coaches, and so I just go to work with him, and I come home from work with him, and if he ever goes home earlier than me, or I go home earlier than them, like I just get a ride from one of the other coaches. It's a really small town, and I've made some really great friendships, and I've been really appreciative of those who have had my back and been able to pick me up or drop me off if I need it. But it's been really easy just because the person I live with works with me, so we're going to the
mm.
same spot every single day. So
What's
that
that
that's
like?
been
Sort
that's
of,
been my biggest difference. Sure.
yeah. What's the what's it like? Sort of having to build these new connections and relationships with new people. Obviously, going from Washington to Austin.
Yeah. So the crazy thing for me is this is the fourth place I've lived in 4 years. Like I was living at home 2020, then I was living in Clemson 21, and then Washington 22 into 23, and then now in Texas here in 23 into 24. So I've definitely challenged myself with meeting new people every place I've gone. I mean, I've had stop I've gone on, and so I feel like I've uh, I haven't mastered it, but I've gotten pretty good at you know getting myself in a new situation and making friends and building relationships and being all right. I moved here not knowing a single person. I moved to
Mm,
Seattle knowing probably two or three people, and I left with an abundance of people that I will call my friend, and left with someone that I'll call my best friend. And I've come to Texas and not known a single person in this area, and I've got plenty of friends and a lot of great relationships and people that I think for a really long time. Um, no matter where I'm at, no matter where they're at.
yeah, I think that's what's dope about coaching as well. Is like it's quite a small pool of people that you can meet, and like if we all stay together and
Hmm.
connect and just keep those connections happening, we sort of build this sort of network of people that just we're on the same wavelengths. We might be doing different things in different aspects of the sport, but we all have that one thing that we coach, and we have the same principles and philosophies, and I think that's the best part.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there was one giant um, conference that we went to with all the high school coaches in Texas, and then a bunch of college coaches in Texas as well, and just meeting all these new people and talking about their paths and um, learning about their experiences. Because I met plenty of coaches who have been coaching for way longer than I have, and getting their advice on what they think I should do and where I should go with this process and everything like that. So. Um, yeah, relationship building and networking is the biggest advice I have for anybody, because it got me to where I am today.
Mm,
Networking got me the two jobs I had at UW, and it got me this job. And without it, without the networking skills that I've gained, I definitely wouldn't be here right now. But with it, I know a couple of my mentors in the past have always told me that networking is going to be what gets you jobs. There's going to be some jobs that you get that you don't even apply for because building your network and people handed you off and said, "Hey, I think this guy is going to be really good for the job," and you can go make it happen. So, um, and that's kind of what happened with this job. I did apply for it, but through networking, I was able to find a job. Um, and now I'm here. So it was pretty cool.
yeah. So, what is that the biggest advice is that you would give new coaches or coaches coming out?
It would definitely be the networking aspect of things. There's plenty of people that you may never actually meet in person. You may never actually work with them or do anything like that. But just taking the time to talk to them. There's plenty of people that went through my same master's program, and there's plenty of people that didn't. But it was just because I reached out to them, and I said, "Hey, like I'm a up and coming coach. Curious if you could take the time to talk with me, and not only get to learn about their path and how they got to where they're at, but you know, um, see what they can recommend to me, but also say like, hey, try this when you're meeting other people, or if you're looking to get into this, like do certain things. And there was a guy that I talked to at, ironically enough, it's at the school that I'm playing on Saturday. Um,
Mm,
he was the one who introduced me to basically this website that has a bunch of football jobs on it, and I never had heard of it, and that's where I found this job. And so without
nice.
communicating with that guy and stuff like that, he doesn't even work there anymore. But it's just kind of ironic that I'm playing against them now on Saturday. But someone at that school is the reason that I'm here, and it's because of just advice that he gave me, and it was just because I randomly found him and I reached out to him, and he took the time out of his day to give back to me. And that's something that I'll want to do in the future too. Is anybody that wants to connect, um, I'll be able to give back to them and hopefully give them some nuggets to help them on with their future. But that'd be my biggest thing, is networking, trying to meet as many people as you can, build as many relationships as you can, because you have no clue who they're going to recommend you to or what they might
Mm,
recommend you to. Um, and taking advantage of the people that you have with you, and working hard for them, because they might have they have a giant network as well, and it might not be something that you find, but they see that and they're like, "Oh, I think Manny would be great for that job. I'm gonna reach out to him and send him this information." So uh, pretty cool.
wait. um, what's the what's the biggest thing that you've sort of taken from your time there?
Ooh, I think the big I've taken in a lot of stuff. Um, I've taken in a lot of stuff. I think the stuff that I'm really intrigued about learning is the recruiting aspect of things, and you know how to build the relationships with recruits. Um, Try to get them to come to your school and build this long-lasting relationship. I mean, talking to these kids for months and months on time, and when it gets to the day where it's like, are you coming to SFA, or are you going somewhere else? And when they say, hey, I'm coming to SFA, I'm coming to play for you, like I want to get really good at that. And I'm watching a lot of coaches and seeing how they recruit and seeing, hey, I want to do that, I might not want to do that. What they're doing is really cool, and just kind of watching them in live action is really cool for me. um, but yeah, I think that's one thing that I want to get better at, for sure. But that I can watch some of the best people out there doing their job, and watch it firsthand, uh, will make me a better recruiter in the future, and no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah. What's sort of the biggest thing that you've learned from watching the recruitment element of it?
Just watching how our coaches build the relationships, and those are relationships with not only the players but the players' family. While
Mm,
I was at a game on Friday, one of our coaches was one of the players we were watching was actually already committed to us, and he's going to come play for us next year. And uh, Me and one of the other coaches were talking to his mom and his grandpa, and watching him work his magic was pretty cool. Like I didn't say too much, but I was just sitting there watching him do his thing, and I think that was really cool, because I learned a lot, and seeing how they do it. You not only have to recruit the player, but most importantly, you got to recruit their family, recruit their parents to trust you to take their kids in, and um,
mm.
being able to evaluate them and work them as hard as you can to get them to whatever their dreams are, and take care of them. And so that's been something really cool, and that I'm excited to get those experiences myself, and learn from them.
I think that really ties in well with the message that you were saying, like the culture of the team as a family, and
Hmm.
like you building these relationships with their mums and dads, grandpas, parents, or whatever, is sort of instilling that from a very early stage of that relationship, essentially.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, relationships are everything. Something they said during my time at Washington, like school wise, they always said it's all about who you know, and taking advantage of the people that you know. And so building relationships is everything in the aspects of recruiting, aspect of coaching with your athletes. but as well as building an environment and whatever environment you want. And for me, it would be a family environment.
Yeah. So is that something that you would take over to whatever program you end up leading?
Oh, 100%. That'll be first and foremost. The thing will be family. And a coach that I've never met, but I've watched a lot of the um, things he's done and talks he's had, and he defines family as "forget about me, I love you" as an acronym, and
Mm,
that's something that stuck with me forever. Since I saw it, the day I saw it, I wrote it down, and I think about it a lot. And that's what a true family is. And I'd want my players to do that, and I'd want my coaches to do that for me, for anybody else on staff, for all the players, um, and not doing it for themselves, but doing it for everybody else around them. And
yeah.
so, yeah.
I think as coaches, we sort of live by these sayings, acronyms. Um, so like I've got one which is like shy boys don't get sweets.
Hmm.
So that just means like any opportunity that comes up, you have to go for it.
Yeah.
Any sort of, oh, I really like this coach, message him,
uh,
dropping an email, call DMing, sliding in, doing anything that you can to get like a 10-second or 10-minute talk with them. I know Coach Mac has swag, which is a scientific wild ass guess.
yeah.
You've heard that friend, and that's families. Was it family? Sorry.
Family. So forget
Yeah,
about me. I love you.
yeah. So like these little sayings that sort of take us through our coaching careers, and it's dope to see like since starting this podcast, like I've heard so many other ones, and
Hmm.
I'm just like it just compiles and like it builds up this bigger program that's not just about me. It's
Hmm.
about each individual character that I have coming into the gym.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think it's funny in the world of sports. They're everywhere. Everybody's got them. And you know, having good ones that people can buy into is what matters, man. And um, so yeah, it's pretty
It's,
funny. I always laugh at seeing other people's.
yeah, it's the thing that it shapes people as well though. So
Hmm.
for me, like the shy boys don't get sweets was one of my coaches before trials sat us down and he was like, "Guys, you're going out for the squads now, so shy boys don't get sweets. If you want this opportunity, you have to go and get it. It's down to you and you only. You're the only one that can make this happen. So shy boys don't get sweets, and that's just stuck with me for the rest of my life. It's
Yeah.
like the whole internship to UW happened because of it. I saw this opportunity come up. I was like, I don't have the experience. I'm never going to get it, but I applied anyways, and it happened
Hmm.
to lead to all of this now.
100%, man. And yeah, it's always funny looking back at, you know, kind of you can see where the puzzle pieces were planted and stuff like that. And how it's fun looking back at those times and seeing like, oh, doing that one thing is the reason that I'm at where I'm at today. So it's always cool and being grateful for that is,
Mm,
yeah.
100%. I think it's one of the best things about this whole thing is just you get to connect more with sort of the human side of people, and you kind of take these little snippets from your progress, and you talk about it with them, and then they're able to be like, oh, actually I've went through something similar, or I've not, this hasn't happened to me before, but I'm going to learn from your experience.
100%. I think that's, yeah, like you said, that's the beauty of this. We can go talk about our experiences and take it and make it our own.
100%. Is there any sort of resources that you recommend people to like either read or look into when trying to get into coaching?
Um, ooh, I mean, I'd say just networking wise, something they nailed into our head at UW was just being on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
and making a profile on that and just being active on that. Um, I had an account before I got there, and I had just my friends on it, and it was like 40 people, whatever. And now I have like over 400 something connections with people, and I've reached out to some of them, haven't reached out to some of them, but my plan is to just go through and try to build relationships with some of them, and talk to them and see if they have any advice for me, or maybe we can connect one way and end up working together. So I'd say taking advantage of that. Um, and like you said earlier, not being afraid to reach out to people that you've seen their work, and you like it, and you just want to get in contact with them. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But it's not going to happen if you don't say anything. So um,
100%.
definitely doing that. Um, and in some aspects, like football is going to be different than baseball, and on jobs and everything like that. Um, like as in having a website to go see stuff, but um, building relationships is always going to get you jobs. And so doing that is going to be the biggest thing. And you can do that through so many different platforms.
100%. 100%. Thank you so much for coming on, Colin. It was a pleasure catching up with you again.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about necessarily shouting out, but just I'm very thankful for the time that we got to spend together at UW was pretty special, and we both were able to grow a lot from that. And then coming here to SFA has been fantastic, learning from a lot of great people, and without my biggest support system, which is my parents. So
Nice.
that's definitely my biggest thing for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Colin.